Well, once again, when you wake up this morning, head out to buy newspapers or wherever you go, you're going to see the face of Oscar Pistorius on the front of every single newspaper. Reason being, it is day 2 of the Oscar Pistorius sentencing hearing. The proceedings are taking place in the Pretoria High Court. Pistorius was convicted of culpable homicide on the 12th of September by Judge Thokozile Masipe for the shooting of his girlfriend Reva Steenkamp on Valentine's Day last year. But to find out what we can expect this morning and also to get a little bit of analysis as to how things unfolded and what happened yesterday in the courtroom, 3 witnesses were called onto the stand, and that was for the defense, of course. Griselda Lewis, who is there, she was inside the court and she's now outside the court again waiting for this morning's proceedings. Griselda, good morning to you. I know you've got an expert with you. I'm sure, again, it's that same feeling that's been going on for many months in this Oscar Pistorius trial, but we really are nearing the end, aren't we?
Well, certainly, Leanne, yesterday we were looking very closely to what, the responses would be from the Steenkamp and the Pistoriuses as they were back in court a month after Oscar Pistorius had been found guilty of culpable homicide. Certainly today we are watching very closely State Prosecutor Gerrie Nel as he begins his cross-examination of Pistorius's longtime agent, Piet van Zyl. We saw van Zyl yesterday really paint a very positive picture of Oscar Pistorius. You would know that Pistorius' reputation has taken a significant knock in this case. Several issues we heard about Oscar Pistorius' character. So really, Piet van Zyl looking to dispel all of that yesterday, and we're expecting him to be cross-examined by Nel this morning. And once that is done, we're expecting the state to ask this court to hand down nothing but a lengthy sentence for Oscar Pistorius. We saw yesterday as Gerrie Nel reacted with irritation and astonishment as one of the defense's witnesses, a correctional services official, Joel Maringa, recommended that Oscar Pistorius should not spend a single day in jail for shooting and killing Reva Steenkamp. He basically recommended that Oscar Pistorius be placed under house arrest, that he should do 16 hours community service a month, and that basically Oscar Pistorius should, among other chores, sweep the streets, and that just be some sort of punishment, if I may, for lack of a better word, for what has happened in this case. But certainly straight after that, we're also expecting the state to read an impact report, that would indicate what impact this has basically had on a victim impact report, what this has actually had on the Steenkamp family. We're not expecting any of the Steenkamps to take the stand, but there is much speculation at this point that one of Reva Steenkamp's friends might take the stand. The state will really want to focus on getting this court to hear what impact Reva Steenkamp's death has had on the Steenkamp family and friends. But just to unpack a bit about what we're expecting from the state this morning, I'm chatting now to Laurie James, who is the resident legal expert here. Laurie, as always, thank you very much for your time. How are we expecting the state this morning to counter what some of the defense witnesses said yesterday?
Look, the first defense witness basically was on the stand to show us that Oscar is extremely remorseful for his acts. Now, she spoke about the grief counselling and the trauma counselling that she's provided, about the psychology, about the post-traumatic stress disorder. I think we'll see somebody from the state, a psychologist, to counter this. On the flip side, we've seen a reckless pre- and post-crime behaviour from him. There was the incident in the nightclub. He's aggressive still. He's had girlfriends. He's been on holiday in Mozambique, living it up. So that's not the image really of a remorseful person. So I think that may come into play. She also mentioned he took responsibility. Through the trial, we saw he did not take responsibility.
How important is it for this victim impact report that we understand will be read inside court? How would the state want to use that to show this court, what significant impact this has had on the Steenkamp's family and friends?
Well, as the family of the deceased, obviously testifying in court is a very emotional experience. So to counter that, often a criminologist may be asked to compile a victim impact statement. And in that, they show the emotional damage they've suffered, the financial damage they've been through, the psychological damage that they've been feeling. So it's quite critical that you get an overview of how the crime has actually impacted on the family, on the friends, on the lives of Reva Steenkamp's family, because as pointed out, Oscar has a chance to rebuild his life. Reva is dead. There's no chance for her to rebuild anything, and her family has to pick up the pieces and go forward from here.
There's much speculation about who the state will call, but notably is Brigadier Labuskaghni, who is with the South African Police Services Psychology Unit. Him being there, what's the likelihood? Well, just to give you some, the latest right now, Leanne, is that we're seeing Gerrie Nel just about walking inside the North Gauteng High Court. He usually arrives at about this time. But let's just get back to that, Laurie, on, Labuskaghni. What would his importance be here? We saw him sitting inside court yesterday. Highly likely that he might be called.
Yes, I do think so. I'll tell you why. Brigadier Labuskaghni, or Gerard Labuskaghni, is a clinical psychologist. I don't know if the viewers remember back to a bald chap driving in a BMW with Oscar to the medical centre just after his arrest. So he observed Oscar right from then. He's been in court every single day, barring a few that he did some testifying in aggravation in Cape Town. He's been there, he's been observing, he's been assisting. I think if any psychologist is called, it will probably be him, because he's been there right through, watching, observing, making notes and assisting the defence.
All right, Laurie James, thank you very much for your time. As always, Laurie James there, the resident legal eagle here on SABC News, giving us some insight into what's expected inside court. We're expecting, again, proceedings to get underway, Leanne, at 9:30 this morning, of course, with the cross-examination of Oscar Pistorius' longtime agent, Piet van Zyl.
Zelda Lewis, thank you very, very much. I know that we're going to be crossing to you again this morning ahead of the start of this morning's proceedings.